Welcome back to The Big Picture. Teddy McClendon and myself, we're talking about anti-intellectualism in the African American community. Let's keep going with this because, you know, it really frustrates me as an educator to see an entire segment of the population, you know, overwhelmingly do much poorer than anyone else.
Yes.
You know, and it just happens to be black people.
Indeed.
You know, and you know, are there, you know, do we lower the bar?
No, you mentioned something in one of our many conversations earlier where intellectualism, creativity, intelligence should be encouraged and applauded and lauded at the level of athletics. We all love athletics. I was an athlete. I love athletics. Mm-hmm. However, some of the prowess that I displayed on the field or on the track, I also had in the classroom, even though I didn't employ it in my younger years, because it's not applauded, okay? It's not encouraged for black people, okay? It's better when you're an entertainer or an athlete as opposed to a thinker. You see, Theo, the thinker. The reason I say that is because I think I do that better than I do all those other things, okay? But it's not encouraged in the black community. So somewhere we're going to have to encourage people at the level, you know, who's the intellectual Michael Jordan? Who's the intellectual Dr. J? Who's the creative Gail Sayers? Who's the creative Barry Sanders?
Right, right.
You see, let's make correlations there, and let's make that something that's cool, that's hip, that's dope, okay? Let's make that something that kids are proud of. Let's make that something along those lines.
Okay, so should this be an intrinsic thing, or should it be extrinsic? When you hit 30 points in a basketball game and you're 17 years old, you got a lot of extrinsic motivation there. The crowd's yelling, people are patting you on the back.
The free shoes.
Yeah, you know, there's no crowd roaring after you get a 1200 SAT. There's no crowd roaring after you get a 4.0 GPA. So, okay, let's go deeper. How do you encourage people to do well academically and create that environment?
I think the media can play a large part, and I hope we're playing a part.
Be specific.
Here. I hope that programs begin to flourish, okay, where we do encourage that, where we do applaud that person that received that high SAT score, or that person that designs something or creates something, you know, or a musical person that does something out of the norm, you know, the multiple intelligences, if you will. If media would show that forth more for African Americans, it would create a difference, which I indict a lot of media, especially like music video, where rap is a totally anti-intellectual phenomenon. Even though there are very intelligent people doing rap, but what they're representing is anti-intellectualism.
Okay.
Okay, it's thugism, it's sensuality, and it's, you know, how ignorant can I talk?
Right, right.
As opposed to how much can I advance?
But it's exciting.
Well, to be sure. But so is, you know, riots are exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, that we can't make that our excuse. Creative people in media ought to find out how to make edifying things exciting.
Okay.
That's where you show your genius.
Well, then see, we've got to, once again, you know, I think we're way below the surface now. This is good. Then I want to be very specific in this show today, because I don't want to leave this show being the people I'm talking about saying develop a program.
Okay.
You know, and it doesn't work. Right. Or develop, once again, you know, this anti-intellectualism, you know, dates back to Cool Pose, you know, from the mid to late 60s. And it's like after that, everything was just lost. People, you know, black people were no longer oppressed like we used to be oppressed. Therefore, getting an education isn't even important anymore. How do we get back to that. I mean, you got kids that know every gym shoe on the market. You have kids that know the price, the day-to-day price of gold Daytons that you put on a '67 Impala, but those same children can't show you where Israel is on a globe.
Right. Once again, we have to applaud achievement in other areas.
How though? Because see, okay, the reason I keep interrupting is because, you know, I can, yeah, well, you did well, good job.
Well, what I mean by that is role models, okay? Like, I'm going to give a role model. I'll give my little media time right now to applauding Dr. Ben Carson, okay? The first person to perform successful surgery on Siamese twins. And moreover, he's the one that's consultant whenever anyone else in any other part of the world does that type of surgery, okay? He's a brain surgeon extraordinaire, and he came from humble beginnings, yet he has excelled in his field, and much of it he credits to growing up in the black community, you see? And so there's not enough of that in media.
Right.
A lot of you viewers right now probably don't even know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
And it's really sad.
Well, you know what? This is interesting that you went there because Dr. Ben Carson is a contemporary.
Indeed.
And I think black history focuses too much on people from the past when we should also embrace those that are currently with us now.
Right.
See, when you tell a 7-year-old, we shall overcome, and you bombard them with pictures of Ida B. Wells and Martin Luther King and George Washington Carver, they're like, yeah, I understand that those were great people, but where are they now?
Right.
They understand the achievements.
Right.
But they don't understand the lineage, because is there anyone now that's doing great things?
That's the operative word.
Absolutely. I mean,
Lineage.
and I'm not saying that I'm an anti-February, anti-Black History Month person, but, you know, we really get locked up with this grandiose self-righteousness that we're African American. Of course you should be proud of it, but at the end of the day, you have to ask, so what? So you're black. So what? What about it?
Right.
Then you have to kick in examples such as Ben Carson and then inspire a child to possibly want to become that.
Right, to show the lineage so that they know that it exists today. You know, even like in religion of all things, a lot of times the lineage isn't shown. You know, who are today's modern day prophets?
Right.
And who are today's people of God that are performing miracles as we speak?
Right.
You see, and the lineage isn't drawn, so it gives people a detachment. And we especially feel it in the black community.
And I love that term you used, because parents sense a detachment, because parents are blaming whom? Parents blame the child and the teacher. The teachers blame the parents, the child, and the school system. The system blames all three of those entities. And who's left holding the bag? The child, with the low SAT score that's struggling to get to the next grade level.
Right.
You know, and so I think there's too much of a blame game taking place as opposed to a collective, you know, issue.
Right.
You know, the question becomes, why isn't there a state of emergency in communities where scores are so low? Why isn't there a state of emergency in the city of Gary where all 5 schools in Gary perform the lowest? Right. You know, people kind of read the article and then they just status quo.
Status quo, they write it off. Well, those people are unintelligent, or they don't care, or, you know, you just write it off. And it's really, like you mentioned, it's a state of emergency.
Yes, it is.
In a modern era, you allow that to take place. Right. You allow yourselves to be that downtrodden. Right. You allow yourselves to be that far below the averages. It's a state of emergency. It really is.
Yeah. And see, when you show me low test scores in a community, I don't care where the community is. Show me low test scores, show me a lack of fathers that are active with their children, and show me anti-intellectualism in a community, and I'll show you high crime, and I'll show you incarceration galore.
Exactly.
Now, if that's not a state of emergency, nothing is.
Right.
People think, see, the United States has spent too much money on incarcerating people and punitive as opposed to educational methods.
You drew a correlation about that, about the percentage of illiterate inmates. Can you quote that stat again?
Oh man, it can be as high as 75%, of inmates that are functionally illiterate. And most inmates, most people who are considered offenders in the United States that are male, specifically African American males, they say that they had no father figure in their life that had any sort of positivity on
We're
them.
drawing some correlations now. This is
Yeah.
what you were asking for
Yeah.
earlier in the discussion, and I'm really glad we're advancing this. This is a big picture moment, folks, because you're saying illiteracy is a direct corollary to crime,
Most definitely.
okay? And also the lack of fathers. But let's go with the illiteracy angle here, the illiteracy connection. So you're saying then, if you proactively nip illiteracy in the bud, you could decrease crime?
Most definitely. Most definitely. There's a lineage there. When you're illiterate, your options become decreased. And we're not just talking about being able to sound out words on a page. We're talking about comprehension. We're talking about, being able to cognitively figure something out.
So is that yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And see, this is beyond just being able to read, Alice in Wonderland. This is beyond that. This is being able to write a check, to balance a checkbook. This is being able to read signs on a road that say detour or merge. I mean, this is much bigger. This is being able to read a mortgage contract. This is being able to read a credit card contract. This is what's taking, and when your options are decreased because of illiteracy, I'm not saying that you're prone to crime, because there's some very honest, upstanding people who can't read that well.
Right.
But when you look at the percentages, it's there. It's as clear as white and black.
It becomes a factor, and then you factor in the lack of fathers
Right.
for black males. It just exacerbates the situation.
There needs to be a grassroots effort for Americans as a whole, white, black, Hispanic, everyone, to concentrate on communities that have low test scores, on children that are failing academically. You will see society rise up. A rising tide raises all boats. We have to realize that if we could take care of that lower rung, society as a whole will get better. Final comment. We got 10 seconds.
Gerard, I think we've advanced the discussion. Education is crucial in the black community, and it's crucial for everyone in America.
We want to thank you for joining The Big Picture. My co-host, Theodore McClendon from McClendonReport.com. On behalf of Ishmael Reed, who believes that blacks need to get rid of anti-intellectualism in the black community, we want to thank you all for joining The Big Picture. You have a good evening.